A courtroom holds its breath. On one side, billionaire mogul Damien Blackwood, a man who owns the city skyline, smirks at his high-priced legal team. On the other, his estranged wife, Emma Vance, pale and penniless, clutches the hand of her legal aid lawyer. Damien is demanding full sole custody of their 5-year-old son, Oliver. He's painted Emma as unstable, hysterical, and unfit. He has videos, witness testimonies, and a corrupt doctor's report to prove it. He's about to win. But he made one mistake. In his mansion of glass and steel, Damien installed a secret illegal network of cameras to control his wife. What he never ever expected was for the judge to find the footage of him. The Blackwood penthouse wasn't a home. It was a statement. It occupied the entire 90th floor of the Blackwood Tower, a monument of darkened steel and one-way glass that pierced the Chicago clouds. Inside the floors were Italian marble. The furniture was minimalist and painfully expensive, and the windows showcased a 360-degree view of a city that Damien Blackwood felt he owned. Emma Vance had lived there for 7 years. She had been a gallery curator, bright and passionate, when she met Damien at a charity gala. He was magnetic, a force of nature. He didn't just enter a room, he conquered it. Their romance was a whirlwind, a Cinderella story splashed across the pages of Forbes and Vogue. The wedding was an event. The birth of their son, Oliver, was a legacy. But the gilding on the cage had begun to peel long ago. Damien didn't love, he possessed. His affection was a form of control. He didn't ask about her day. He reviewed her schedule. He didn't compliment her dress. He had his personal stylist approve it. Every meal, every social engagement, every friendship was curated, monitored, and ultimately approved or denied by Damien. Their life was a muissant, sterile performance. The only warmth in the cavernous apartment came from the 50-square-foot playroom of their son, Oliver. Ollie was a bright, sensitive boy, with Emma's wide green eyes and a nervous energy he'd learned from the tension in the air. He was Emma's entire world, the one pure, real thing in her life. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. It was Oliver's 5th birthday. Emma had, in a rare act of defiance, planned a small party. Not the sterile, press-filled event Damien's PR team had scheduled for the weekend, but a real party. Just her Ollie and 2 of his little friends from kindergarten. She'd baked a messy, bright blue cake. Damien came home early. He didn't rage. He didn't yell. That wasn't his style. He walked into the kitchen, saw the blue frosting smeared on the quartz countertop, and simply stared. His silence was louder than a scream. He looked at Emma, his eyes flat and cold. "Clean this up," he said. "Damien, it's just a cake. The boys are having fun." "I see crumbs," he said, gesturing to the floor. "And I see them." He nodded toward the 2 5-year-olds who had fallen silent, sensing the danger. Their parents weren't on the approved list. "They're his friends," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. Damien walked over to his PA, who was standing stiffly by the door. "Michael, have security escort the guests and their parents out, and send a bill to the Vances for the cleaning." He meant her parents a threat to cut off the stipend he paid them. "No," Emma finally snapped. The word echoed in the vast kitchen. Damien turned, almost surprised. He raised a single eyebrow. "No. You will not do this. You will not ruin his birthday. You will not treat me like this." "I will treat you," Damien said, stepping close, his voice a low, terrifying purr. "Exactly as your position dictates. You are Mrs. Blackwood. You are the mother of my heir. And you are at this moment an embarrassment." He turned to leave. "The party is over." That night, Emma Vance did something she hadn't done in 7 years. She acted without permission. She waited until 3 a.m., when Damien's breathing was deep and rhythmic in their cold, separate bedroom. She packed 2 small bags, one for her, one for Oliver. She grabbed her purse, which contained 1 credit card. Damien didn't know about an emergency card her mother had given her. She crept into Oliver's room, lifted her sleeping son from his bed, wrapped him in a blanket and whispered, "We're going on an adventure, baby." She didn't take the private elevator. She took the service stairs, 90 flights down her legs, shaking, carrying her son. She emerged into the pre-dawn chill of the city, hailed a cab, and went to the only place she could, a $200 a night extended stay hotel miles away, paid for in cash. She woke up Oliver gently. "We're on a secret holiday, my love." He was scared but trusted her. She turned on her burner phone and called the only lawyer she'd ever heard of, who specialized in difficult divorces. She was free for exactly 8 hours. At noon, her phone rang. It was Damien. She hadn't given him the number. "You're in room 3B, at the Redlin Hotel on Archer Avenue," he said. "No hello. You paid $212.50 in cash. You have Oliver. You have 15 minutes to bring him back before I report him kidnapped." "Damien, I'm leaving you. I'm taking Ollie." A cold, dry laugh. "You're taking nothing. You are nothing, Emma. You have no money. You have no friends. You have no power. You are a line item on my expense report. Now bring my son home." "He's my son too. I'll see you in court." "Yes," Damien said, and the line went dead. "You will." An hour later, a sheriff's deputy served her. She wasn't being arrested for kidnapping. Yet. She was being sued. Damien Blackwood had filed an emergency petition for full, sole and exclusive custody of Oliver Blackwood. The hearing was in 72 hours. The petition was thick. It was filled with affidavits, reports, and evidence. Affidavits from nannies she had hired, now testifying she was erratic and prone to fits of weeping. A preliminary report from a renowned child psychologist, Dr. Lena Petrova, stating that Emma showed signs of histrionic personality disorder and emotional instability, making her a potential danger to the child. And photos. Dozens of photos. Emma crying in the kitchen after an argument. Emma sleeping late, which he framed as depression and neglect. Emma, in the bathroom, taking her anxiety medication. She had no idea who took them. She felt sick. The petition claimed she was a drug addict, mentally unstable, and a flight risk. Damien Blackwood wasn't just divorcing her. He was erasing her. Emma Vance was drowning. The extended stay hotel room felt like a concrete box. Oliver, sensing her terror, had grown quiet and pale, drawing pictures of their old apartment with sad stick-figure faces. She had $400 to her name. A consultation with the high-profile divorce attorney she'd called confirmed her nightmare. The lawyer, a woman with a steel-grey bob and a $1,200 an hour fee, reviewed the petition. "He's papered you, Ms. Vance," the lawyer said, not unkindly. "This is a scorched earth filing. He has Dr. Petrova, she's the court's darling. She's also $2,000 an hour. The affidavits. This is a coordinated attack. Your nannies, your personal assistant, even your driver. They've all been bought." "But it's all lies," Emma cried, her voice cracking. "He's twisting everything. The medication is for mild anxiety. He caused I was crying because he told me my art degree was a waste of his oxygen. The truth, the lawyer said, steepling her fingers, is what can be proven in court, and Mr. Blackwood has just purchased his truth. My retainer to even begin to fight this is $100,000. Emma's blood ran cold. I don't have that. I know. He knows that too. He's frozen all your joint accounts. Your name is on the penthouse, but he has a prenup that gives you, let's see, a one-time severance of $500,000. $1,000 payable after the divorce is final contingent on a morality clause you've already violated by fleeing the marital home. So, Paul, what do I do? The lawyer sighed, her sharp demeanor softening for a second. You can try legal aid, but frankly, Ms. Vance, you need to prepare yourself. You are walking into a nuclear war with a water pistol. He's going to take your son. Emma left the polished office in a daze. Legal aid. The words felt like a failure. She found the downtown legal aid clinic in a basement office beneath a bail bondsman. The air smelled of stale coffee and desperation. There she met Stella Jenkins. Stella was the opposite of the uptown lawyer. She was in her late 30s, with frizzy, uncontrolled hair, pulled back in a clip, and a blazer that looked like it had been slept in. Her desk was a mountain of paper. Blackwood, Stella said, scanning the petition. Damien Blackwood. You're married to that guy? Yes, and he's taking my son. Stella read for 10 minutes, her expression hardening. She flipped through Dr. Petrova's report, her lips curling in disgust. Histrionic personality disorder. What did she diagnose you from across the room? This is purchased garbage, and these photos, I don't know how he got them, Emma whispered. It's like he was everywhere. He is everywhere, Stella said, tapping her pen. He's a control freak. These types, they don't just want to win. They want to annihilate. Can you help me? Stella looked at Emma. Really looked at her. She saw the designer clothes now rumpled the exhaustion and the pure, primal fear of a mother. My caseload is full, Stella said flatly. I'm dealing with 3 evictions and a domestic violence case today. I don't have the resources to fight Blackwood's army. Emma's face crumpled. She put her head in her hands and for the first time let out a gut-wrenching silent sob. Stella watched her for a beat. She'd seen this minus the billions a dozen times. But the arrogance of the filing, it pissed her off. Okay. Stella sighed, rolling her chair back. Okay. Stop crying. Crying won't help. He wants you to cry. He's using your crying against you. Emma looked up, her eyes red. We have 48 hours. The goal is not to win. The goal is to not lose. We need to block his emergency custody order. We need to convince the judge to order a real evaluation, not this paid-for trash. The judge is Eva Reed. She's tough. She's smart. She hates men like Blackwood. But she follows the law. If his paperwork is clean, she'll grant it. His paperwork is clean, Emma said. It's all lies, but it's clean. Then, Stella said, leaning forward, we have to get it dirty. We need to prove he is the unstable one, that he is the danger. How do we do that? He's perfect, Emma whispered. He never, ever loses his temper. He's cold. He's calculating. He never yells. He just dismisses you. Everyone has a weakness, Stella muttered. His is arrogance and control. You said you didn't know how he got those photos. No, it's impossible. Some of them. I was alone. Completely alone. No, you weren't, Stella said, a sudden dark idea dawning. You weren't alone. He was watching you. What do you mean, like a PI? No, more personal. In the house. Think Emma. Did he ever install a new security system update the smart home features? Emma's mind flashed back. About a year ago, after a small security breach that was just a false alarm. He said the old system was obsolete. He had a private team from his own tech division, Blackwood Dynamics, come in. They were there for a week. He called it the Ark. Total security. Total peace of mind. Stella's blood ran cold. Oh, God. He bugged his own house. But that's illegal, isn't it? It's his house, Stella said, thinking fast. He can install cameras, but if he's recording you in places where you have a reasonable expectation of privacy, like a bathroom or your personal bedroom, that's a felony. And recording audio without your consent, also a felony. The photos. One was from the master bathroom, Emma said, feeling bile rise in her throat. Okay, Stella said, her voice grim. He's arrogant, but he's not stupid. His lawyer, Arthur Kendrick, is a shark. They would never introduce illegal evidence. The photos they used, they're all from public areas of the home. The kitchen, the living room. They're establishing a pattern of surveillance. So what do? We find the cameras. I can't go back there. You don't have to. You're still connected to his network. Stella pointed to Emma's phone. That's not the burner, is it? That's your personal phone. Yes, Give it to me. Stella snatched the phone. He's tracking you with this. GPS, probably a keylogger, but if he's got a smart home system and your phone was the master controller for the lights and music. Stella's fingers flew opening settings, Wi-Fi networks, and connected device apps. She scrolled. Sonos, Lutron, Crestron, and what's this ArcNet? Emma nodded. That's what he called it. Stella tapped the app. It asked for a password. I don't know it, Emma said. Try Oliver's birthday, Stella said. Emma typed it in. Access denied. Try air, Stella muttered. Access denied. Try Blackwood Legacy, Stella suggested. Access denied. What's his obsession? Stella asked. What does he value? Himself, Emma said. Stella typed DAMIAN1. Access granted. A list of devices populated the screen. Cam 01, living room. Cam 02, kitchen. Cam 03, foyer. Cam 04, Ollie. Playroom. Cam 05, master bedroom. Cam 06, master bath. Cam 07, study. Cam 08, guest house, living. Cam 09, guest house, bed. Emma stopped breathing. Guest house, but that's where he made me stay after the fight. He said we were separating in-house. He wasn't just separating. Stella set her eyes wide with a terrifying, furious energy. He was building his case. He was recording you in your most private, vulnerable moments to take your son. Oh my God, Emma whispered, collapsing back into the chair. No, Stella said, grabbing her arm. This is it. This is the water pistol. Now we just have to figure out how to turn it into a cannon. To understand the monster, you have to understand his obsession. Damien Blackwood wasn't just a businessman, he was a controller. He didn't build an empire, he built a fortress. And inside that fortress, he was king, and his word was law. The ArcNet system hadn't been a security upgrade. It had been a loyalty test. A year prior, Damien had been closing a hostile takeover of a rival tech firm. It was brutal and leaks were springing from his inner circle. He became pathologically paranoid. He trusted no one. Not his board, not his staff, and certainly not his wife, who he'd always seen as an emotional, unpredictable variable. He'd tasked his private R&D division, the arm of Blackwood Dynamics, that built military-grade surveillance tech, with a personal project. He wanted total information awareness at home. They installed microscopic military-grade camera lenses in everything: the smoke detectors, the bezels of the smart TVs, the digital clocks, even the brushed steel air vents. They were all hardwired to a central server in a climate-controlled bunker room in the penthouse basement, a room only Damien could access via thumbprint and retinal scan. The system was his God's eye view. He'd watch the feeds from his office on the 100th floor. He watched Emma. He watched her talk to her mother on the phone, noting her disloyal complaints. He watched her cry after he belittled her, logging it as instability. He watched her interact with Oliver, searching for any flaw, any moment of emotions, any sign of weakness. He wasn't just a husband, he was a warden. When Emma had dared to throw Oliver that unsanctioned birthday party, Damien hadn't just been angry. He'd been insulted. It was a breakdown in his system. His response was immediate. He would remove the variable. He would take his air and discard the flawed vessel. He had Dr. Petrova on his private payroll. She was a reputation management psychologist, specializing in smoothing over the personal difficulties of the 1%. She owed him for covering up a nasty gambling addiction problem years ago. A single phone call was all it took. "Lena," he'd said, his voice calm, "Mrs. Blackwood is having a breakdown. I need a report for a family court intervention, for Oliver's protection." "Of course, Damien," Dr. Petrova had replied smoothly. "What are her symptoms? Hysteria, deep depression, paranoia, potential for self-harm. You know the script." "I'll have a draft by morning." He'd called his chief of staff. "Activate the severance protocols for the nanny and the driver. I want signed notarized affidavits on my desk by 5 p.m. They will state that Mrs. Blackwood has been erratic, neglectful, and emotionally volatile. Their severance package will be generous, contingent on their complete cooperation." He'd even paid off one of Emma's few approved friends, a woman named Megan, whose boutique was funded by a no-interest loan from Blackwood Investments. He'd manufactured his evidence with the precision of a factory assembly line, and the photos he'd sat at his 4K monitor fast-forwarding through months of footage of his wife's private life. He'd pause, screenshot, and label: Emma Vance, crying uncontrollably. Kitchen Oct 10. JPG. Emma Vance, refusing to get out of bed master. Nov 02. JPoo. Emma Vance, ingesting unknown. Pills master. Bath. Nov 03. JPG. It was her prescribed anti-anxiety medicine. He handed this pristine, curated package of lies to Arthur Kendrick, his lawyer. Kendrick, a man with a $20 million retainer, didn't flinch. "This is airtight, Damien. She'll be declared unfit before she can even hire a lawyer." "Good," Damien had said. "I want it done." This was the machine Emma and Stella were now facing. Back in the legal aid office, Stella was vibrating with rage. "He's not just recording. He's logging. He's been planning this for months. This wasn't a reaction to you leaving. You leaving just accelerated his timeline." "So he has footage of everything," Emma whispered, horrified. "Of me? In the bathroom? In bed?" "Yes," Stella said. "And he's a felony voyeur. But he controls the server. We can't access the footage from this app. We can only see the camera list. He's not stupid enough to allow a remote live feed or access to the recordings. So, we're stuck. No. Stella said, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her face. He's given us the weapon. He put the list of cameras right in the app. He's bragging. And more importantly, he has introduced evidence from this very system into his petition. Stella pointed to the photos of Emma in the kitchen and living room. This is our opening, Stella said. In law, there's a principle called opening the door. You can't show the jury a part of the evidence and then hide the rest. You can't show a text message, and not the whole conversation. Damien Blackwood and Arthur Kendrick have just opened the door. How? They've submitted photos from KM01 living room and CAM02 kitchen to prove you're unstable. We are going to argue that to see the full context of those photos, the court must see the entire, unedited footage from all the cameras on that list. He'll never agree, Emma said. He'll fight it. It's his private security system. He'll fight it, Stella agreed. And that's what we want. We want him to fight, because what does he have to hide? We're going to make a motion to subpoena the entire hard drive from ArcNet, not just for the last week, for the last year. Emma's eyes widened. But what if there's footage of me? Times I was a bad mother, times I did yell at Ollie. I'm not perfect. He would have already used it, Stella snapped. If he had a single second of you hitting Ollie or screaming at him or passing out drunk, it would be Exhibit A. The fact that he's resorting to crying in the kitchen and taking anxiety meds means he has nothing else. All that footage, all those terabytes of data, they don't show you being a bad mum. What do they show? Emma asked. They show him, Stella said, her voice dropping. They show his abuse, his coldness, his control. They show the context. They show him driving you to tears, and then like a sociopath screenshotting it for his files. And the other cameras, Emma said, thinking of the bathroom, the bedroom. That's the trap, Stella said. Kendrick will see our motion and he will panic. He'll object, citing privacy. He'll try to quash the subpoena, but he's the one who submitted the first photos. Judge Reed. She's smart. She'll see the objection for what it is, concealment of evidence. And if he refuses, contempt of court. If he deletes the footage, spoliation of evidence, we win. And if he hands it over, then we pray, Stella said. We pray that in his mountain of footage he got sloppy. He's arrogant. He thinks he's untouchable. He thinks he curated his evidence perfectly. But he's a man who installed a camera in his own study. He's so obsessed with watching others he never considered that his own weapon could be turned against him. Stella stood up and grabbed her briefcase. We have a hearing. Let's go to war. The Honorable Judge. Eva Reed's courtroom was old, panelled in dark wood, and smelled of floor wax and old paper. It was a room that demanded silence. Judge Reed, a stern African-American woman in her 60s with a reputation for suffering no fools, was known by the bar as the Iron Gavel. She despised media circuses, and the presence of two discreet but obvious reporters in the back row already had her in a foul mood. Damien Blackwood sat at the plaintiff's table, looking less like a father in a custody battle and more like a CEO at a hostile board meeting. He was flanked by Arthur Kendrick and two junior associates, their table, a fortress of leather briefcases and file binders. Emma and Stella sat at the defendant's table. They had one briefcase and a single battered laptop. The power differential was so stark, it was almost a caricature. We are here, Judge Reed began, her voice booming, on the emergency petition of Mr. Damien Blackwood for the sole custody of the minor child, Oliver Blackwood. Mr. Kendrick, you may begin." Kendrick rose, smooth and reptilian. "Your Honor, this is a matter of grave urgency. The child Oliver is in imminent danger. His mother, the defendant, Ms. Emma Vance, is suffering from a severe and untreated psychological collapse." For 20 minutes, Kendrick laid out the case. He was brilliant. He wove a narrative of a loving, concerned father forced to take drastic action. He presented the affidavits from the nannies. He presented the photos of Emma weeping, which he framed as manic episodes. Then he called his star witness to the stand for the preliminary hearing, Dr. Lena Petrova. Dr. Petrova was the picture of empathy and professionalism. She spoke in soft clinical tones about patterns of behavior, based on my review of the evidence provided by Mr. Blackwood. Dr. Petrova said, "And my phone observation of Ms. Vance, it is my professional opinion that she exhibits classic signs of histrionic and borderline personality disorders. Her emotional lability makes her a potential danger to the child's welfare." "A danger, doctor," Kendrick pressed. "Yes, a mother in this state is a flight risk, a suicide risk, and potentially a risk to the child's physical safety. I strongly recommend immediate removal of the child to the care of his father, the stable party, pending a full 90-day psychiatric evaluation of Ms. Vance." Damien Blackwood nodded gravely, the very picture of a heartbroken husband. It was brutal. It was effective. Emma was visibly shaking, and Stella had to put a hand on her arm. "Thank you, Doctor," Kendrick said, sitting down. "The plaintiff rests for the emergency motion." Judge Reed looked over at the defendant's table. "Ms. Jenkins, your response." Stella Jenkins stood. Her blazer was still rumpled. She looked tiny next to Kendrick. "Your Honor," Stella said, her voice clear and strong. "The defense would first like to address the evidence presented, specifically plaintiff's exhibits 4, 5, and 6, the photographs of my client." "What about them, Ms. Jenkins?" "They were taken without my client's consent by a surveillance system inside the marital home, a system Mr. Blackwood installed. These photos are the entire basis for Dr. Petrova's remote diagnosis." Kendrick was on his feet. "Objection relevance. Ms. Vance lived in the home. There is no expectation of privacy in a common area kitchen." "Overruled," Judge Reed snapped. "Sit down, Mr. Kendrick. I'll be the judge of relevance. Continue, Ms. Jenkins." "Mr. Blackwood has, by his own admission, a 24/7 multi-camera surveillance system in his home. He has presented 3 carefully selected still images from this system as proof of my client's instability. But these images are snapshots devoid of context. What happened right before that photo of my client crying? Did Mr. Blackwood perhaps just tell her that her entire life was meaningless? Did he threaten her? We don't know." Stella walked to the judge's bench. "Therefore, Your Honor, we move to compel. We demand Mr. Blackwood produce the entire unedited video and audio recordings from his ArcNet security system, from all cameras, for the past 6 months." The air went out of the room. Kendrick's smug expression vanished, replaced by a flash of panic. "Objection," he thundered. "This is an outrageous bad faith fishing expedition. The system contains proprietary data. It covers Mr. Blackwood's private study, his personal affairs. It is a massive invasion of my client's privacy." "Your client, Mr. Kendrick," Stella fired back, "was the one who invaded my client's privacy and then introduced the fruits of that invasion into this courtroom. He has opened the door, Your Honor. He cannot be allowed to present a single curated frame and then claim the rest of the film is private. The only way to verify Dr. Petrova's claims and Mr. Blackwood's allegations is to see the full context of what has been happening in that home. She's right, Judge Reed said simply. Kendrick looked stunned. Your Honor, you can't have it both ways, Mr. Kendrick. You can't use the camera when it suits you and then hide it when it doesn't. You've made a very serious allegation against Ms. Vance, backed by photos from this system. I am very interested in seeing the context you're so desperate to hide. Your Honor, the sheer volume of data is your client's problem, not mine, and not Ms. Vance's. The system contains cameras in private areas, Kendrick argued, his voice lowering. My client's personal bedroom, his bathroom. And Ms. Vance's, Stella interjected. Like Cam 06 Master Bath, where he photographed her taking her legally prescribed medication, or Cam 09 Guest House Bed, where he forced her to sleep. Damien Blackwood, for the first time, looked up. His eyes, fixed on Emma, were no longer cold. They were murderous. Judge Reed's gavel slammed down, making everyone jump. Mr. Kendrick, the judge said, her voice ice, you are skating on very, very thin ice. You have entered evidence from a system that appears to be, at best, a gross violation of marital privacy and at worst, felony voyeurism. Now you're telling me you want me to ignore the rest of the footage. We retract the photographs as evidence, Kendrick said hastily. Too late, Stella shouted. They're already in the petition. They're the basis of Dr. Petrova's report. You can't unring that bell. Ms. Jenkins is correct, Judge Reed said. I am ordering the full, unedited, unadulterated hard drive from the ArcNet server to be delivered to this courtroom into my exclusive custody by 9 a.m. tomorrow. If 1 second of that footage is missing, deleted or altered, I will hold Mr. Blackwood in summary contempt, strike his entire petition, and I will refer you, Mr. Kendrick, to the State Bar for discipline reaction. Do I make myself clear? Crystal. Kendrick seethed. In the meantime, the judge continued, I am not impressed by this petition. It reeks of malice. I am not granting your emergency motion, Mr. Blackwood. I am, however, ordering a temporary visitation schedule. Ms. Vance will have custody of Oliver on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Mr. Blackwood will have him Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We will alternate Sundays. This order is in effect until this hearing reconvenes tomorrow at 10 a.m., after I have had my clerk begin a review of this footage. She slammed her gavel. We are adjourned. Emma and Stella packed their single laptop. Emma was shaking. We won. We didn't win, Stella said grimly. We just survived. The real fight is tomorrow. Now they're going to go back, and Kendrick is going to spend all night trying to find a way to legally destroy that evidence. Or worse, he'll find something on those tapes we didn't count on. Damien Blackwood stood up. He didn't look at his lawyer. He looked straight at Emma. His face was a mask of polite fury. He mouthed 2 words at her so subtly the judge couldn't see. You're dead. The 90th floor penthouse was no longer calm. For the first time, Damien Blackwood was raging. You idiot! He roared at Arthur Kendrick. The junior associates had been dismissed. It was just the 2 of them in the vast, white living room. Me, Kendrick shot back, his own reptilian calm finally breaking. You're the one who bugged his own house like a B-movie villain. You told me the photos were clean. You told me they were from a nanny cam in the kitchen. You didn't tell me you had a camera in her bathroom. You didn't tell me about the guest house. You didn't tell me the system was a digital fortress of felonies. That little legal aid skunk played you. She played us. Damien paced his $5,000 suit jacket, thrown on the floor. The judge, Reed. She's biased. She's taking the woman's side. She's a judge, Damien, and you just handed the other side a nuclear bomb. We have to give her the hard drive. If we don't, you lose. Right now. You lose Ollie. Then wipe it, Damien snarled. Wipe the whole thing, say it, crash gears. A power surge. Spoliation, Kendrick screamed. She explicitly warned us. She'll have a forensic team all over it. The moment they find a single deleted file, it's over. She'll grant Emma full custody, and she'll hand the entire case to the DA. You'll be indicted for illegal surveillance and tampering with evidence before lunch. Damien stopped pacing. He was trapped. His own system, his perfect ark, had become his prison. Okay, he said, his voice dropping back to its terrifying calm. Okay. The drive. Where is it? In the server room, where you built it. We go through it, tonight. We find everything, every clip. We need to know exactly what's on there. There's a year of footage, Damien. From 9 cameras, it's petabytes of data. I don't care, Damien said. We review everything. They descended to the basement server room. It was cold, the hum of the fans a steady drone. Damien placed his thumb, then his eye to the scanners. The heavy steel door hissed open. Inside a rack of black servers blinked with steady green lights. This is it, Damien said. Kendrick plugged in a monitor and keyboard. How do we search? The system is logged, Damien said, his fingers flying. Every file is time-stamped and tagged by camera. I was meticulous. For the next 8 hours they worked. They drank stale coffee, and the room filled with the scent of their panic. They watched. Everything. They watched Damien berating Emma for buying the wrong brand of asparagus. They watched Damien telling Oliver that crying is for the weak. They watched Damien in his study calmly shredding a piece of art Emma had bought, calling it sentimental trash. It was a comprehensive, high-definition record of his own psychological abuse. This is bad, Kendrick muttered, his face ashen. This is a portrait of a monster. It's context, Damien snapped. I am a disciplined man. I demand excellence. That is not a crime. It is in family court, you fool, Kendrick spat. Then they found it. The file was Key AM08, guest house, living. The date was 3 weeks ago, the night he'd banished Emma to the guest house. The video was clear. The audio captured by the microphone in the smart TV was pristine. It showed Emma crying on the sofa. It showed Damien entering. He's not yelling. He's calm, holding a file. I've drawn this up, his voice says on the recording. It's a post-nuptial amendment. You will cede all custodial rights to Oliver. In exchange, I will deposit $10 million in an offshore account in your name. You will leave. You will go back to your pathetic art galleries. You will never contact me or my son again. Emma on the video looks up, horrified. You're trying to buy my son. I'm trying to save him. Damien's voice replies, cold as ice. From you. From your weakness. This is a good deal, Emma. Take it. Go to hell, Damien, he sighs. Very well. Then I will proceed with Plan B. I will destroy you. I will use this. He gestures chillingly to the air, right at the hidden camera. He knew it was there. I will use this entire system to prove you are an unfit, unstable drug addict. I have Dr. Petrova on call. I have your nannies on the payroll. I will bury you, Emma. You will have nothing. You will be nothing. And you will never see Oliver again." He places the file on the table and walks out. Kendrick stared at the screen, his mouth open. He slowly turned to his client. You knew the camera was there. You knew you were being recorded, while you admitted to fabricating evidence and blackmailing your wife." Damien was pale. I was going to use her reaction, the part after, where she throws a vase. I was going to edit out my offer. I forgot. You forgot. Kendrick repeated, his voice hollow. You forgot you'd recorded yourself committing 3 different felonies. "Delete it," Damien roared. "Delete that file." "I can't," Kendrick yelled back. "It's a continuous server log. If I delete that one file, the timestamp log will have a gap. The judge's tech will find it in seconds. We're dead." Kendrick stopped. He stared at the screen. He rewound the footage. He watched Damien gesture at the camera. He gestures. He says, "I will use this system." Kendrick's mind, the sharp reptilian mind, was racing. What if we don't hide it? What if we reframe it? We're dead if we hide it. But what if we use it? We claim you knew she was unstable, and you were trying to create a record to shock her into behaving, that you knew she was unstable, and you were staging this to get her to a doctor. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Damien said. It's all we've got, Kendrick said. It's better than handing them a signed confession. Kendrick kept scrolling. His eyes landed on another file. CAM-07 study. The timestamp was from the day after Emma left. "What's this?" Kendrick asked. He clicked it. The video showed Damien alone in his study on his speakerphone. Damien's voice, and the bonus for Petrova. "Is it in the account?" A different voice, his PA, Michael. "Yes, sir. The consulting fee was processed." Damien. "Good. And the friend, Megan?" Michael. "The loan for her boutique has been forgiven as requested." Damien. "Excellent. Their affidavits are strong." Michael ironclad, sir. They both state Ms. Vance has been a consistent mess for 6 months. Damien. "Perfect. That's all, Michael." The call ends. Damien sips his scotch, looks at a photo of Oliver on his desk, and smiles. Kendrick didn't say anything. He just stared. Damien Blackwood, a man obsessed with recording everyone else's disloyalty, had, in his ultimate act of hubris, recorded himself conspiring to suborn perjury, bribe witnesses, and defraud the court. He was so arrogant, he kept his own cameras running while he committed his crimes. Kendrick slowly reached over and unplugged the monitor. "Arthur." Damien said, his voice small. Kendrick began packing his briefcase. "Arthur." "What are you doing?" "We have to fix this." "There is no we," Kendrick said, his voice flat. "I am your lawyer. I am not your co-conspirator. You have on that hard drive a detailed record of your own implosion. You didn't just open the door, Damien. You set the entire house on fire and locked us inside. So what do we do?" Kendrick said, snapping his briefcase shut. "I'm going to advise you to plead the fifth. As for this hard drive, we have no choice. We have to turn it over. It will destroy me." "It already has," Kendrick replied. "My only job now is to try and make sure you're just a disgraced billionaire, and not a convicted one. Though I'd say the odds on that just plummeted." Damien sank into the chair, the green lights of the server rack blinking on his pale, defeated face. The controller had lost control. The next morning, the courtroom was electric. The tension was so thick, you could taste it. Judge Eva Reed sat on her bench, her face unreadable. A large 80-inch monitor had been set up facing the gallery, dark and ominous. A court technician sat at a table nearby, a single external hard drive plugged into his console. It was the ArcNet server drive. Arthur Kendrick looked like a man who hadn't slept in a year. His suit was immaculate, but his eyes were haunted. Damien Blackwood sat beside him, hedged, staring at the empty screen. Emma and Stella were at their table. Emma was trembling so hard she could barely hold her water glass. What did they find, Stella? What if they found a way around it? They didn't, Stella whispered, her eyes fixed on Kendrick. Look at him. He knows he's lost. He just doesn't know how lost yet. We are back in session, Judge Reed announced. My clerk and I have begun a review of the server data provided by the plaintiff. The volume is substantial. However, Ms. Jenkins, in a mourning motion, requested the court review 2 specific files first in the interest of time. Given the nature of this emergency hearing, I have agreed. Kendrick half rose. Your Honor, we object. The defense cannot be allowed to cherry-pick files any more than we can. Mr. Kendrick, Judge Reed said, her voice dripping with acid. Ms. Jenkins has provided timestamps for fees she believes provide the context you were so worried about. I'm going to see them. Sit down. He sat. Mr. Hodges, the judge said to the tech, please play file TAM 08 Guest House, living time-stamped October 12th. The screen flickered to life. The courtroom saw the guest house. They saw Emma, her face red from crying. Then they saw Damien Blackwood enter, holding a file. The audio was perfect. I've drawn this up, a post-nuptial amendment. You will cede all custodial rights to Oliver. In exchange, I will deposit $10 million. A collective gasp went through the courtroom. The reporters in the back were scribbling so fast, their pens were sinking. Damien Blackwood didn't move. The courtroom watched as Emma refused. They heard her say, "Go to hell," and then the moment of truth. They watched Damien's face harden. They heard him say, "Then I will proceed with Plan with Plan B. I will destroy you. I will use this entire system to prove you are an unfit, unstable drug addict. I have Dr. Petrova on call. I have your nannies on the payroll. I will bury you, Emma." The video played on. Damien left. Emma, finally alone, picked up a vase and hurled it at the wall, screaming in a fit of rage and grief. The screen went dark. The courtroom was utterly silent. Kendrick stood up, his voice hoarse. "Your Honor, that video clearly proves our point. Look at her. That is the instability we've been talking about. She's violent. She's hysterical. My client provoked her. Yes, but it was a desperate attempt to get her to show her true colors for her own good. It was a valiant, desperate art, but Judge Reed wasn't looking at Kendrick. She was looking at Emma, her expression filled with a dawning, terrible understanding. "So your client," Judge Reed said, her voice dangerously quiet, blackmailed his wife, threatened to fabricate evidence, and admitted to having an expert witness on call, just to get a reaction. Is that your testimony, Mr. Kendrick? My client was desperate to protect his son. I see. Judge Reed turned to the tech. Mr. Hodges, thank you. Now please play the second file Ms. Jenkins requested. Damien Blackwood looked up confused. He thought the guest house video was the kill shot. He looked at Kendrick. Kendrick just stared at his legal pad, his face grey. File KAM-07 study, the judge commanded. Time stamped October 8th. The screen lit up again. This time it was Damien's private study. Rich mahogany, a wall of glass overlooking the city. Damien was on his speakerphone. His voice, clear as a bell, echoed through the courtroom. And the bonus for Dr. Petrova. Is it in the account? In the gallery, Dr. Lena Petrova, who had been ordered to attend, stood up as if she'd been electrocuted. Yes, sir. The consulting fee was processed. Good. And the friend, Megan, the loan for her boutique has been forgiven as requested. Excellent. Their affidavits are strong. Ironclad. Sir. They both state Ms. Vance has been a consistent mess for 6 months. Perfect. That's all, Michael. The video ended. The silence that followed was not like the first. It was a heavy, suffocating silence. Damien Blackwood was staring at the dark screen. He hadn't known. He hadn't remembered that file. He turned his face a mask of pure, uncomprehending horror to his lawyer. Kendrick just closed his eyes. Judge Eva Reed slowly took off her glasses. She polished them on her robe. She put them back on. She looked at Damien Blackwood. Mr. Blackwood, she said, her voice completely devoid of emotion. You are without a doubt the most arrogant and self-destructive man who has ever set foot in my courtroom. She turned to the bailiff. Deputy, take Mr. Blackwood into custody. What? Damien roared, jolting to his feet. On what charge? For contempt of this court. Judge Reed's voice was now a thunderclap. You sat there. You let your high-priced lawyer build a case based on bribed witnesses and fabricated reports. You perjured yourself in your petition. She stopped gathering herself. This, she announced to the room, is no longer a custody hearing. This is a crime scene. Dr. Petrova, you are to remain where you are. You are also in contempt, and I am referring you to the medical board for immediate revocation of your license and to the district attorney for perjury. Mr. Kendrick. Kendrick stood, shaking. Your Honor, I was not aware. I am an officer of the court. I would never. You'll have plenty of time to explain that to the Bar Association, Mr. Kendrick. I am referring this entire matter, this entire hard drive, to the DA's office for immediate criminal investigation into Mr. Blackwood, his associates and you, Mr. Kendrick, for conspiracy to commit perjury, subornation of perjury, bribery, illegal surveillance, and God knows what else they'll find in this ark of yours. 2 deputies grabbed Damien's arms. The billionaire, the master of the universe, looked small. You can't do this to me, he shrieked, his mask of control shattered. I am Damien Blackwood. Not in here, you're not, Judge Reed said. In here you are a man who tried to destroy an innocent woman and steal her child, and you used your own pathologic need for control to do it. You were so busy watching everyone else you never thought to watch yourself. She turned to Emma, her expression finally fully softening. Ms. Vance, I am granting you immediate full soul and exclusive legal and physical custody of your son Oliver Blackwood. Emma gasped, her hands flying to her mouth, tears streaming. I am issuing a 1,000-yard permanent restraining order against Mr. Blackwood, barring him from contacting you or the minor child indefinitely. The court will assign a professional neutral monitor for any future potential visitation if Mr. Blackwood ever proves he is not a danger to his son. But as of now, he has no rights. She looked at Damien, who was being cuffed. "You are a disgrace, sir. Get him out of my courtroom." Damien Blackwood, the man who owned the Skyline, was dragged out of the room, shouting, "This isn't over! This isn't over!" But it was. Emma collapsed into Stella's arms, sobbing in relief. "You did it," Emma cried. "You did it." "No," Stella said, patting her back, her own eyes wet. "He did it. He was just arrogant enough to film it for us." The fall of Damien Blackwood was not a tumble. It was a demolition. The Chicago Tribune and the New York Times ran the story on the front page. The ArcNet server, now in the hands of the district attorney, was a treasure trove of corporate and personal crime. The DA didn't just find evidence of the custody fraud. They found Damien illegally recording board meetings. They found him blackmailing a city councilman. They found evidence of insider trading discussed nonchalantly in the very study where he'd hung a Picasso. Damien Blackwood was indicted on 27 counts, including fraud, bribery, illegal surveillance, and conspiracy. He was facing 30 years in prison. Arthur Kendrick, in a desperate attempt to save himself, testified against his former client. He was disbarred anyway. Dr. Lena Petrova lost her license and was convicted of perjury, serving 6 months in a state prison. Blackwood Dynamics, the company built on Damien's infallible image, collapsed. Its stock flatlined. The board ousted him, and the company was carved up and sold for parts. The Blackwood Tower went into receivership and was renamed. And Emma, she didn't get the penthouse. She didn't get the $10 million. The prenup in the end was all she had, and it was tied up in Damien's bankruptcy. She didn't care. She and Stella Jenkins used the $500,000 severance, which Stella finally clawed back from the wreckage, not for a new penthouse, but to start a non-profit. They called it the Jenkins Vance Project. It was a legal aid fund, specifically for women and children trapped in high-conflict, high-wealth custody battles. Women who, like Emma, were facing a nuclear war with a water pistol. The story ends 1 year later. Emma Vance lives in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood. It's cluttered. The furniture is from IKEA. There are drawings taped to the refrigerator. It's 5 p.m. Emma is in the kitchen, her hair in a messy bun, flour on her face. Oliver is standing on a chair next to her. They are baking a cake. It's a bright, messy, chaotic blue. "It's perfect, Ollie." Emma laughs as he smears a huge glob of frosting on her nose. "It's messy," he giggles. "Messy is good," she says, kissing the top of his head. Messy is real. There are no cameras. There are no nannies. There is no schedule. There is just a mother and her son in a home that isn't a statement or a fortress or a saw. It's just a home. Emma Vance had lost all the money, all the prestige and all the power. And in doing so, she had finally, truly gotten everything back. In the end, Damien Blackwood's empire wasn't destroyed by a business rival, a market crash, or a legal loophole. It was destroyed by his own reflection. He built a system to trap his wife, but he only succeeded in trapping himself. His obsession with control was the very thing that made him lose it. Emma Vance didn't have his money or his power, but she had something he'd forgotten about the truth. And this time she had the receipts to prove it. What do you think about this story? Do you believe justice was served? It's a reminder that sometimes the most sophisticated security system can't protect a person from themselves. Thank you so much for listening. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And be sure to subscribe to the channel for more true-life dramas. Just like this one. We read all your comments, so let us know your thoughts below.